This program is brought to you as a community service by the physicians and hospitals of Prominent Health System.
Hello, I'm Governor Roy Barnes. I have incredible news about lives that have been saved in Georgia. In the first 6 months after the Teenage and Adult Driver Responsibility Act went into effect, traffic fatalities among teenagers dropped over 20%. That means there are 30 teenagers alive right now that may have been killed in a car wreck if not for this new law. That's the good news. Now here's the bad news. Over 40,000 teenagers have lost their licenses for DUI, speeding, reckless driving, and several other serious offenses. You probably know someone, a friend or a classmate, who has lost their license. It's a significant hardship. But remember, having a driver's license is an enormous responsibility, a responsibility that must be earned every time you get behind the wheel. That's what this law is all about, saving lives and getting careless drivers off the road. The following film explains the Teenage and Adult Driver Responsibility Act and introduces you to some people who have to live with the consequences of irresponsible behavior. Listen carefully to what they have to say and learn from their mistakes. And each time you get in a car, remember, your driving can either cost lives or save lives. Make it your driving ambition to be a safe and responsible driver, and together, let's continue to save lives on Georgia's roads and highways.
This is serious medicine for a serious problem. The bottom line is that with this law, we're going to save lives in this state.
You have, I'm afraid, today, even adults that think they have a right to a driver's license, and that's never been the case, not by law. It is a privilege, and it's a privilege that can be revoked or suspended. And the reasons now that you can have it revoked or suspended are many more than there were at one time.
We're not out there to keep kids from having fun. We're simply out there to keep kids safe, to be able to grow up and enjoy life and to live to their full potential.
Twisted metal, broken glass, and body bags. Despite the constant reminders of how dangerous driving can be, the carnage continues.
Car crashes are the leading cause of death for American teenagers. More than 5,000 teens die each year on our roads and highways.
I'm Sakan Simbla.
And I'm Eric Wingate. Georgia's new driving laws are designed to turn the tide of this teenage tragedy. These laws will affect how we get a driver's license and how we keep a driver's license.
Since the Teenage and Adult Driver Responsibility Act went into effect in 1997, more than 50,000 teenagers have lost their privilege to drive. Across the state, cops are cracking down on irresponsible teen drivers, and courts are showing no mercy.
If you have a driving ambition, you better be ready to obey the new laws.
placing you under arrest.
I'm going to place you under arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol. Having your driver's license is a privilege. If you can't handle it or you do things that are not responsible enough, we don't need you on the roads.
The driver and passenger were declared dead on the scene.
2 people dead in front, and that pretty much knocked a little bit of sense into me, you know?
This family's loss is just impossible to overstate.
Well, most of the 16-year-olds think they're invincible. They go down the road, and the next thing you know, they have a tree sticking out next to them in the passenger side.
Look right back here for me. He was at one of our classes that we taught at Dunwoody High School. Don't move your head. I want you to turn and walk. What I want you to do is take a deep breath. Blow hard. What I'm going to do right now is place you under arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol. It doesn't appear like he learned his lesson too well. You got anything at all in your pockets, take it out and put it up here. Take your shoes off and leave it sitting right there.
The feeling of having your freedom taken away for the first time, not being able to move where you want to go, is scary enough.
You might not think we're going to get you, but there's enough of us out here. We're going to get you, and we're going to lock you up.
The docket at Clayton County Juvenile Traffic Court is full today.
All right, some of y'all are gonna have to come up in front of the rail and stand or sit.
Before this session is over, 9 more teens will lose their driver's licenses.
No, you cannot get a limited permit to go to school or work. You cannot drive for 6 months.
Judge Tracy Gladden is presiding.
I need your license.
And taking away driver's licenses. 16-year-old Eric Bayless lost his license in Clayton County too.
I was going down the interstate and I was going about 97 miles an hour and it's 65, so I was 32 over.
But Eric lost more than his license.
I had a girlfriend for a while, but once I lost my license, you know, it kind of went down after that.
And now, his mom does the driving.
You know, in high school, people don't like their parents taking them places and stuff.
And Eric has learned a lesson that will make a lasting impression.
I could have killed me or the person that was in the car with me, so it was definitely the wrong thing to be doing and stuff, so I'm not ever going to do it again. All right, make sure you're here at 1 to pick me up. Bye.
Georgia's new driving laws are taking thousands of teen drivers off the roads. The law is known as the Teenage and Adult Driver Responsibility Act, or House Bill 681 for short. If you want to drive in the state of Georgia, you better know what it means and obey what it says.
If you're under 21 years old, you will lose your license if you're convicted of committing any one of these violations. DUI, hit and run, leaving the scene of an accident, racing, fleeing or attempting to elude police, reckless driving, speeding 24 or more miles per hour over the speed limit, any violation in which 4 points are charged, and attempting to purchase alcohol as a minor. If you lose your license for any of these violations, then you have to pass your driving test again, take a defensive driving course, and pay a restoration fee.
You may think losing your license is the worst thing that can happen to you, but every year in Georgia, more than 200 teenagers lose their lives in car wrecks. Chances are you've known someone, a friend, a relative, or a classmate who was killed in a car accident. The shock is painful. The sorrow is everlasting. But for one Georgia community, the loss is impossible to measure. Hundreds of people are filling the high school football stadium in Edenton, Georgia, but no games will be played here tonight. This crowd isn't coming to cheer. They're coming to mourn.
Shortly after 1 a.m. Saturday morning, the peace of Putnam County was broken.
Broken by a horrible accident that was the end of life for John Davis, Jonathan Gordon, Tony Oliver, Brian Yance, and Jason Hardy.
There were about 6 firemen here and 3 of my deputies.
In 23 years of law enforcement, Putnam County Sheriff Howard Seals had never seen a single car accident produce so much death.
This Jeep was turned up sideways, and there was a mass of 5 burned bodies right there, huddled together.
This is all that's left of that Jeep. After running off the road and into a ditch, it was launched into the air.
And then slammed it up against the tree like that.
What used to be just another shade tree is a roadside memorial, a place for friends to remember, a place for families to mourn. 5 Putnam County families mourn the loss of a son now. Jason Hardy was the son of Richard and Julie, the first parents to learn their boy was dead.
I've had some people I were real close to that have passed away, and it affected me, but not nothing like my child. It just ain't even on the same page.
Richard Hardy does his best to stay focused on his farm now.
It's just I think about him because I miss him so much.
But his chores rarely block his memories of Jason.
I can remember running around the house with him, scaring him, and I can remember I mean, from the very first day he was born. Excuse me.
The Hardy family is even closer now, doing their best to fill the gap left by Jason, who brought so much life to their household, yet seemed to predict his own death in this home video.
But tomorrow might not be here for you.
Jason was a happy member of a happy family. He made it a point to never say goodbye to his mother without a hug, a ritual he somehow forgot the night of his death.
He said he'd either be home by 12, maybe even 11:30, and I thought, well, that's okay. I get a hug tomorrow and whatever.
Sorry.
You know how devastating the combination of drinking and driving can be. But did you know there's something else teen drivers do every day that's far more deadly? It kills 3 times as many teenagers and causes 4 times as many accidents. Keep doing this, and your license could be gone in a flash. Trooper Mike Kenzie may have saved 4 lives when he pulled over this car full of teenagers.
Is there any kind of reason why you're running this fast?
Yes, sir.
You don't know how fast you're running?
80.
No, I checked you at 102.
Trooper Kenzie knows how dangerous speeding really is. In 1996, 15 teen drivers were killed in alcohol-related accidents. But in wrecks where speeding was the primary cause, 44 teen drivers died.
This is what's causing problems. This is what's getting people killed. Running 102 miles an hour down the road with no seatbelts on and drinking, that's not any way to conduct business, and especially not in the state of Georgia.
Georgia's crackdown on teen speeding is saving lives and taking dangerous drivers off the roads. Between July of 1997 and October of 1999, more than 9,000 teenagers lost their license for speeding.
If you're going 24 miles above the speed limit, and we're talking about somewhere in the high 80s or the low 90s, that they need to consider what can happen in a split second. And any inattention on their part can result in things that are just totally disastrous, not only to themselves, but everyone else. If you understand the dynamics of automobile accidents and crashes, then you know at 94, 95 miles an hour, any slight deviation in your driving patterns can cause a car to go out of control. And especially in the metro areas of this state, it's not only going to take you out, it's going to take a number of other people out with you. And it's not a funny thing.
Every time you get behind the wheel, you accept a huge responsibility, not only for your own life, but for the lives of other people on the road. It's the power of life and death, right in your own hands.
You know, I wasn't prepared to accept something like this, or even be involved in something like that, much less be responsible for something like this.
Responsibility. It was the last thing on Joe Wiggins' mind that summer night 7 years ago. At 19, he and 3 other underage guys didn't think twice about drinking at a party, piling into a car, and drag racing down Atlanta's Ponce de Leon Avenue.
And just, you know, as soon as I swerved about this far over the line, a Mazda was right there, and I clipped the Mazda.
In that Mazda, 4 adults. Joe Wiggins' reckless driving killed 3 of them, leaving 4 children without parents.
I never really stopped to consider the effect that my choices would actually have on people around me.
Prepare for camp. Prepare for camp.
Prison guards and wardens make all of Joe's choices now. He got 12 years in prison for taking those 3 lives. Now, his life is nothing but steel bars, loneliness, and lots of time. Time to feel the burden of his guilt, mourn the lives he ruined, and regret his own young dreams lost.
Look at my life and my choice and what I got for making my choices, and ask yourself if you can accept them. If you can't accept them, don't make the same choices.
Ben Murphy's choices are limited these days too.
I miss my legs. I miss being able to walk around.
The Atlanta teenager got this way in a bad car wreck. He admits by not wearing his seatbelt, he was driving just as foolishly as the speeding teen who hit him.
Your life can change in a matter of seconds. You can go from being completely normal, walking around, to being in a wheelchair like me.
Imagine at your age, always needing someone to help you with the little everyday things you take for granted.
Like being able to scratch my head or go to the bathroom by myself.
Ben has advice for you that he wishes he had heard and listened to.
Don't be reckless and foolish. Buckle up. Wear your seatbelt. You know, it may not seem cool or whatever, but it can save your life and it can prevent serious injuries.
Ben Murphy will pay the rest of his life for the mistake of another teen driver. But now reckless driving and irresponsible behavior on the roads won't be tolerated in Georgia. House Bill 681 is making teens prove they are responsible enough to drive.
It's known as a graduated driver's license. When you turn 15 years old, you're eligible to obtain an instruction permit. You have to pass a written exam, and you can only drive with another licensed driver over the age of 21. You have to have this instruction permit and maintain a safe driving record to move on to the next level of license.
That's known as a Class D license. You can get it when you turn 16 years old by passing a behind-the-wheel driving test. The Class D license has restrictions you need to know about. First, you can't drive between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. unless you're going to or coming from a school or church-sponsored event, or you're going to or coming home from work. And you can't drive with more than 3 passengers in the car, unless they're members of your family or over 21 years old. To move to the next level, you have to keep a safe driving record for at least 12 straight months, and you have to be at least 18 years old.
That's when you can get a Class C license. You have now earned the privilege to drive without restrictions. But beginning January 1st, 1998, anyone under 18 years old has to be in school or have a high school diploma or its equivalents before they can get an instruction permit or a driver's license. And you have to stay in school to keep your permit or license. If you miss 10 or more consecutive days without an excuse, your license will be suspended.
You'll also lose your license if you threaten or strike a teacher or other school employee, if you have drugs or alcohol on school property, or if you bring a weapon on school grounds. If you do any of those things, you can lose your license until your 18th birthday.
The clear message behind Georgia's driving laws? If you're not responsible enough to stay in school, you're not responsible enough to be behind the wheel. More than 17,000 teenagers have lost their license because of school attendance and behavior violations.
When's the last time you went to a party and you and your friends were drinking alcohol? You may think having a couple beers or a drink is okay.
But now in Georgia, even 1 beer can cost you your driver's license. It's called zero tolerance. And what it means is that anyone under the age of 21 is guilty of DUI if their blood alcohol content is 0.02 or higher. you will lose your license automatically for 6 months if your blood alcohol content is between 0.02 and 0.07. And remember, if you are under 21, you can also lose your license for simply trying to purchase alcohol.
If your blood alcohol content is 0.08 or more, you will lose your license for a whole year. If you are under 18 years old, you won't be able to move to the next level in the graduated license system. In fact, you'll have to start over at the very beginning, take all the tests, attend DUI school, perform community service, and pay fines and license restoration fees.
It's obvious drinking and driving will cost you in Georgia. But the new law will send you to jail, too. A mandatory sentence. Any driver, regardless of age, convicted of DUI with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or more will go to jail for at least 24 hours.
You've heard a lot of good reasons to know the new driving laws and to obey them. But remember, the most important reason isn't to keep your driver's license, it's to save lives.
Every year, more than 200 Georgia families are left with the sorrow of losing a loved one in a car wreck. Don't leave your family to face a lifetime of never-ending pain.
Hal was an athlete. Hal was an artist. He was an adventurer. I always told him that his courage was way ahead of his wisdom.
Hal Hilliard grew up in Tifton, Georgia, a small American town where the days are filled with friendly faces and the nights are filled with cruising.
90% of them is good kids. They just coming up here to ride around.
Hal Hilliard was a good kid.
It appeared that Hal was going to truly be a significant person.
But even good kids make bad choices. Hal chose to sneak out after his parents had gone to bed, and he chose to get in a car with a driver who was drinking.
About 12:30, I went on to bed, and I assumed that Hal had gone on to bed too. But the next thing we knew, the police were at our door.
The police had bad news. Hal had been in a terrible accident.
They were kind of racing through basically a residential area, came to an intersection they couldn't make, and the young man driving flipped the car 3 times.
And when the car stopped flipping, it was on top of Hal Hilliard. Hal's parents visit him often now, at the cemetery where he's buried. It's hard for them to talk about how Hal wound up here. The pain comes easy. The words do not.
I mean, we think we're okay, and then we'll hear a song at church, or we'll hear a song on the radio, and we're not okay. And I don't know when we will be.
Hal won't be celebrating his 16th birthday. He won't be going to the prom or graduating from college. And his parents never had the chance to say goodbye.
When they did let us go in to see him, they didn't even want us to cradle his head or pull the sheet back. They had his hand out, and they said, "You can touch his hand," which was not enough, not enough. I just wanted to grab him and hold him. It's just unbelievable.
Don't let your parents or your brothers and sisters be the next family to face this kind of grief. You can prevent them from experiencing the kind of pain that hundreds of families must live with every day.
Commit today, right now, to be a safe and responsible driver. And get your friends to do the same thing. It's the day you've been waiting for. The day you gain your freedom. But it's also the day you accept enormous responsibility, if you're prepared.
Richard Warner is cramming for an exam,
These are the new graduated laws, Richard.
and his mom is helping him.
Since you lose your license, you're on the bus, or you're on MARTA, or you're hoofing it with your 2 feet.
This is one line Richard and other Georgia teens have looked forward to standing in. At the end waits a ticket to independence, popularity, and fun. But before they can call themselves licensed drivers and pass another milestone in life, they have to pass the test.
I want you to obey all the rules of the road as if we're out on the actual street.
Richard's prepared for his test. He's finished a defensive driving class, and his mom has spent time teaching him how to maneuver the family car. Some kids
That's not good.
aren't that lucky.
They're 3 times more likely to get into a crash than other drivers on the road. And the bottom line is experience, and you can't teach experience.
But you can help them gain it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
And a few hours going over the fundamentals could be more than educational.
Congratulations.
It could be life-saving.
Welcome to becoming an adult, you know.
Richard's parents made sure that he was ready. Now, are you ready? Every time you get behind the wheel, you have a chance to make a difference.
What difference are you going to make? Will your driving cost lives or save lives? Make it your driving ambition to be a part of the solution. Don't let your freedom become someone else's tragedy.